want to share with you what to me are the most successful strategies to succeed in the corporate world as an introvert, and that somehow I rarely see anybody talking about. Now, if you are like me, you've probably also been in this situation where people are asking you, why are you so quiet? Or maybe you have been at a party and you sneaked out into the bathroom just to get a break from the social interactions. But if you're also like me, you are probably somebody very ambitious who wants to have a successful and fulfilling career. And this sometimes can be difficult for introvert people like us. Now, the way that corporate environments are designed, with open plan offices, very frequent meetings, and in general a culture that often values extroverted traits, it can easily be very overwhelming for introverts like us who have to face very unique challenges in the corporate world. I remember, for example, my first weeks into the corporate world and how nervous I was because the office really looked like something designed for extroverts, with open plan office, colleagues encouraging me every 2 hours to go to the coffee corner with them and chat all together for a while, endless meetings and workshops and brainstorm sessions and all sorts of activities with the team that they would drain me throughout the day, and I really felt at that moment it would not be possible for me to have a successful career in such an environment. However, after 8 years in a Fortune 500 company and quite a few promotions, I found out 4 strategies that can help introverts like us not just survive in the corporate world, but actually thrive in it. The first tip is something I learned during the first months in my role whenever I had to join a team meeting. Now, I don't know about you, but in my case back then, I didn't say much in team meetings because I was quite new to the team, and I always felt that whatever I had in mind was not so valuable compared to my colleagues who had way more experience, so I would often keep my thoughts for myself. But the problem with this is that you can easily fall into what I call the gradual mute, which basically means that whenever you're in a meeting, the longer this meeting runs without you saying anything, the harder it becomes for you to say something, and it's like you're gradually going into a mute mode until the point where you cannot unmute yourself again. Like, imagine being 40 minutes into a meeting where you have said absolutely nothing. It just feels very weird all of a sudden to share a very long opinion, right? Well, that's exactly what was happening to me, and of course, it was not helping me to shine as a bright employee with great and valuable opinions. So my very first tip here is that you try to say something the first 5 minutes of the meeting. Just make a very small comment or some remark that brings attention to you. And it doesn't need to be something extremely valuable. Like, if you think about it, in a meeting there's plenty of things that are being said that don't add a lot of value. The point here is that you say something so you fall out of that gradual mute, and eventually, when you really have something important to say, you don't feel constrained because you haven't said anything in the first part of the meeting. And personally, what I used to do was at the beginning of the day just look at all the meetings that were coming in my agenda, and for each of them already write down a couple of questions or remarks that I wanted to bring in. So as soon as the meeting would start, I would have those ready and I would try to bring them in the first 5 minutes so I would not feel constrained later on when I would want to share my opinion. Now, if you do this, you will see that eventually this behavior will become natural to you, and it will be much easier to speak up and be noticed in meetings. The second tip is something I learned when I changed roles and I moved into the headquarters of my company. Because you see, many times promotions don't only depend on your skills and your performance, but they also depend on your ability to network effectively. But of course, if you're an introvert like me, just thinking about these networking events, social gatherings, and small talk probably makes you feel very uncomfortable. Now, in my case, for example, I remember many times going to the coffee machine, and as soon as I would see somebody standing in a queue, I would just walk past it pretending I was going somewhere else. However, I also understood the importance of small talk and how when you are engaging in small talk with your colleagues or with superiors or your stakeholders, you are essentially creating connections that can help you accelerate your career. The key thing to understand here is that when you get the classic question like, hey, how is it going? Or how was the weekend? You have the power to lead that conversation to a direction that it doesn't drain you. So for example, if you find talking about the weekend very draining, but there is a certain topic that you really enjoy and you could talk about it for hours, just bring it up. Like, you could actually say, the weekend was great, I was reading about such topic and it's very interesting because of X, Y, and Z. And most likely than not, they will ask you more questions about the topic, so it will let you dive into it and think about something that you're really passionate about rather than trying to think what to say about your last weekend. And honestly, you can also use this small talk to talk about your achievements. So for example, if somebody is just asking you how is it going, you can just explain how you closed a certain deal with Amazon or how you passed a certain milestone. And this helps you in 2 ways. On one side, it can really help you to create exposure around the things that you're working on. And on the other side, it drives the conversation into a topic that is more interesting than answering the classic, oh, I'm doing good, how about you? And then trying to figure out how to keep that conversation alive. The third tip is something that I have briefly explained in a different video, and it completely changed my career. I learned this one in a year where I really thought I would get a promotion because I was getting really good results, but unfortunately I didn't. which was really frustrating back then because I thought my results were really speaking by themselves. You see, introverts like us many times fall into the trap of thinking that just our hard work alone will be enough to get the recognition and advancement in the career that we deserve. And it's like we hope that our superiors will somehow notice all our work and dedication and reward us accordingly. But unfortunately, the corporate world doesn't really work like that. If you want that promotion, salary raise, or next opportunity, just go ask for it. Don't wait for somebody to offer it to you. And it's not necessarily about being too pushy or demanding, but it's about advocating for yourself and for your career aspirations. In my case, the pivotal moment came when I gathered the courage to use one of my one-to-ones with my manager to express my career aspirations and how I was planning to get a promotion that year. And of course, I did not just ask for that promotion, but I also used the chance to highlight my merits and my achievements and how I was bringing value to the company. And actually, it worked. That year, I ended up getting the promotion that I thought I deserved the year before. And the main difference was that year, I dared to ask for it. So next time you think you deserve a promotion or a salary raise, just don't be scared of planning that meeting with your manager or with HR. And of course, asking for it does not guarantee that you will get the promotion. But for sure, if you don't ask for it, you are highly reducing the chances that you will get it. Finally, the last tip is probably the most important one of all of them. It's something that took me quite a while to learn and embrace in my career journey, and it only happened after I read the book Quiet by Susan Cain. That book really taught me how being an introvert in the corporate world is not necessarily a disadvantage like I used to think, but it can actually be a very unique advantage because we bring a very unique set of skills that many people don't have, but actually are really valuable for the corporate world. We as introverts tend to be very good listeners, critical thinkers, and find it easier to focus than, for example, our extrovert colleagues. And we also tend to be very good at problem solving and can bring a level of detail and introspection to our work that's really hard to match for extroverts. And these are qualities that any company should treasure. So my advice is don't try to change who you are and fit some kind of extroverted ideal, but instead embrace your introversion and leverage it to your advantage. Learn to listen actively in meetings, and when you speak, your words will carry more weight because you have been listening to the conversation and you understand the nuances that are being said. Also use your natural inclination for deep thinking to come up with innovative solutions to the complex problems that your company might face. And also, don't shy away from opportunities that allow you to work independently and immerse yourself in your projects. The key here is to understand that both extroverts but also introverts have something unique to bring into the table. And if you embrace your introverted qualities, you will not only succeed in your career, but you will really excel at it because, after all, there's plenty of research out there showing how introverts can be better leaders at any company. Now, I mentioned before in the video how small talk can be a very powerful tool to get your next promotion. But there is something I was doing back then that had an even bigger impact in my career. So check out this video over here if you want to learn what it is and how can you use it to get your next promotion faster than ever. I'll see you over there. Bye.